Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today is my week 9 on my Zepbound or Tirzepatide journey. I am doing a vlog of each and every week and then going over things that I have researched, found, or need to look up because it's something new. I know last week I told everybody that I would be doing skincare this week, especially skincare to deal with loose skin. I changed this up a little bit. I promise I will do it for you in week 10, but I found so much stuff this past week during the shortage trying to find the medication that I felt like this was a little more important to go over. So today we're going to be doing an update on the shortages and how I handled that. Just in general, you guys are going to be surprised. I'm going to be going over compound drugs. I know that this is kind of a touchy subject. Compounding is allowed when there are shortages of a medication by the FDA. While I am not utilizing a compound drug, I am going to show you all what I did find on some of these compounding companies and give you all a chart just for your own basic information, just in case it does become an uber shortage in the future and that is your last resort. I'm also going to be going over a few things with just the Eli Lilly Direct process, how that's working, what it's looking like, what I've been told about it, as well as mentioning a few things about the FDA and Congress today. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to go over with everybody is the shortage. Yes, I did find some, however, it is not my dose. I had to go back down to the 2.5 milligrams to be able to locate any whatsoever. Basically during the last 2 weeks of not only my searching, but also the Weight Watchers Clinic care team searching as well. I also involved my local endocrinologist team that I've discussed in the past, was actually the first to prescribe me this. However, they were unable to get my prior authorization approved with my insurance, whereas the Weight Watchers Clinic or Sequence Clinic was able to do so. Therefore, that is why I was using Weight Watchers Clinic and Sequence, because they were able to get that done for me to get these for $25. So a little about what's going on. With Weight Watchers and Sequence Clinic, you can only get one single prescription at a time for 1 month, or 28 days is what they write it for. That means every time I was asking them to please send the prescription to a different pharmacy that I thought that it might be in stock, I was being pulled out of the Eli Lilly Direct line. Yes, there's a giant waitlist line for Lilly Direct. I thought that it was leaving me in it while we were trying to get CVS, Costco, Sam's, Kroger, Walgreens, mom and pop pharmacies, everybody in town to fill this for me. However, it did remove me from that line. When I called Lilly Direct, they told me that you are not to call them. They will call you when it's your turn in line. They did tell me that it was taking around 10 to 14 days with Eli Lilly Direct when I spoke to them. However, I did get a nice little message from my Sequence or Weight Watchers Clinic care team letting me know that now that has upped itself from 14 to 30 days. And that is to get your insurance information, get your prescription loaded to possibly get the prescription. I have seen on a lot of the different groups that I'm on for Tirzepatide, for Zepbound, for weight loss in general, that most people who are already on the Lilly Direct are still receiving their set prescription that they need without any type of break. I think I have some different thoughts about this process when it comes to Lilly Direct that I'm going to be going over in just a moment. One thing that I think people don't truly understand about the way pharmaceutical manufacturing works with insurances and how it actually gets to the patient or even gets to the pharmacies is kind of what they call the middleman, that is your prescriber benefit management that works with your insurance and how that process works. So I'm going to be going over that a little bit because that has been a very large topic with the FDA, with Congress, with all pharmaceutical companies right now, where a lot of the heads of these pharmaceutical companies are being called in front of Congress and have already been in front of Congress, being questioned about our drug prices. So I am going to go over that as well. So what I will tell you all is that Weight Watchers Clinic was not able to find my prescription for me. Therefore, my Weight Watchers prescription is just sitting at the Lilly Direct waitlist line, waiting on someone from Lilly Direct to contact me. I have not been contacted yet. They're on a timer, tick, 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 because I will be telling you all exactly how long it took from the day it was submitted until the day that I was contacted, so that everyone has a better realistic feel for how long it's taking. I will also say that if you are off of your medicine, you're unable to find it, even if you go down like I did to the 2.5. If you are off of your normal medicine and your Zepbound or your mounjaro with Tirzepatide for more than 10 days, then you have to go all the way back down to the start anyway. So something I was going back and forth with my Weight Watchers care team was if they were unable to find the 5 milligram or a 2.5 milligram, we even looked for 7.5 milligram. I considered going up if we could find it. They did tell me if I was off for more than 10 days, I was going to have to titrate back down to the 2.5 anyway. And they were going to be submitting to the Lilly Direct just for me to start the 2.5. Another thing I want to let everybody know, because I don't think people understand this, if you are on a compound drug, which means you are not getting the name brand from the company Zepbound or mounjaro of the Tirzepatide, then you have to start at the very beginning anyway, whenever and if you do switch over to the name brand. That was something that had never been communicated to me before, so I didn't fully know anything about that either. I've never looked a lot into compounds, and I did in the past week, and I'm going to be sharing that with you. So even if you're on a compound and you're at the 10, you're at 12.5, you're at 15, you're at 7.5, if you were to get a prescriber to prescribe you Zepbound, you would have to go back all the way down to the 2.5 and start over. Also, the Weight Watchers Clinic and Sequence Clinic did let me know that if I were to acquire a compounded drug during this shortage, that they can no longer work with me. My doctor's office actually said the exact same thing. They do not recommend utilizing a compound drug, and if I were to obtain a compound drug and start taking it, that they would also no longer write my Zepbound prescriptions for me. So that's just a little bit of a whoa for everybody. If you are looking into those compounds in the meantime, know that that might mean that you have to stay on the compounds the rest of the time instead of being able to go back into Zepbound unless you obtain a separate or different prescriber that evaluates you and then will then prescribe you the Zepbound. But either way, they're also still going to make you likely go back down to the 2.5 regardless of what level you are on. Now, what I want to go over today is what I found about the compound drugs. And I will tell you all that since I've been looking into this, now all of my Facebook ads, all of my Instagram ads are all of the different providers that are providing compounded drugs at this time. So once I started looking into it and Googling it, I found it very easy to just find all of the different ones that are available because they were popping up on every other post, both on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things today on how to look into those that's really going to help you not only with this and looking to see if they're running any kind of deal on pricing, but also realistically with any brand in the future. I'm going to show you guys first how you look up if a page or a business on Facebook is running an ad that includes some type of discount or discount code or promo code. So the first thing that you're going to do, I'm going to pull it up right over here so that you guys can see it. I will try to make it as large as possible. Even if it covers me up, I'm fine with that. The first thing that you want to do is you want to look up whatever business it is that you're looking for. The first one I looked at was Amble, because I saw that being posted a lot on the groups. You're going to make sure you're on their actual page. Then you're going to go into their About section. When you're in the About section, it will tell you whether or not that page or business is running ads at this time or has an ad library that you can look through. So Amble did not, so I went over into what is called Henry Meds, which is another compounding agency that offers Tirzepatide. I've also seen a lot about Henry Meds on the pages. Same thing, make sure you're on the page, go to their About section, scroll down to where it says Page Transparency, and it will tell you that they are in fact running ads right now. And I knew this because they were popping up all over my Facebook as I was going. Now, Henry Meds is one of the more expensive for compounded drugs. I was looking through a lot of their ads to try to see if they were running any type of specials for anyone, especially during this shortage. I did not see anything, but if you're looking at a brand, or even if you're just out shopping for a dress, you can go and utilize that next time you're on Facebook looking for a promo code, and I hope that helps you guys. Another thing that I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to look at it on this phone while I am talking about it with you all. I'm also going to put the link down below to this, just so that if you guys really can't see it that well on this video, you can open it up on your browser, your mobile, your computer, whatever it is you're on. So I looked through a couple of different platforms that are offering compounded drugs. Now, a compounded drug is not the name brand Zepbound or Mounjaro. It is a compound of the same peptides that are used for these. However, the brand name of Tirzepatide is a patented name in the United States by Eli Lilly. Tirzepatide is also patented by China right before it was patented by Eli Lilly in the United States. So I kind of digress. My point behind this is you don't really know where these peptides are coming from that they're making these compounds with. No one really does. I know that Eli Lilly has quite a few legal lawsuits, both with med clinics, med spas, compounding pharmacies, as well as does Novo Nordisk that owns Ozempic and Wegovy. They also are in fact suing a lot of these people who are compounding. So what I did find is that the FDCA, which is the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the FDA does allow compounding of drugs in a time of shortages for those drugs. So what I'm looking to happen is that once Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk can increase their production of their Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound, that a lot of these compounding pharmacies will no longer be allowed to compound these drugs. They will start receiving warning letters. They're probably going to get sued by the companies, especially because this is an intellectual property and proprietary formula that the pharmaceutical companies own. So here's the ones that I found that offer Tirzepatide at this time. I will say that this research was done in the past week. This is what came up for me. I am in the state of Kentucky. I believe that these are going to change based on your state. Obviously, everyone might see different pricing, but this is what I saw. For the service platforms, I looked at Pomegranate Health, Join Fridays, Amble, Valhalla Vitality, Mochi, Orderly, IVIM, and then I put the sequence, which is Weight Watchers Clinic, on the very bottom. So one thing I will say, I'm going to start at the bottom by sequence. Yes, it does have a monthly fee of $86 a month. You are getting the full care team, the full financial team, your clinician, the ability to log your food, track your food within the app, the fitness program, and a nutrition or dietitian as part of that monthly fee. They do not have a compound option, and like I said before, they are a prescription only service where you are going to have them send your prescription to whatever your chosen pharmacy or your insurance preferred pharmacy is. You can cancel at any time. Now, if you chose to do any of the above compounding service platforms, then you can no longer work with Weight Watchers Clinic or Sequence. What I did do is I put whether or not each of them, and they all did offer Tirzepatide. I put the cost of their compound, which you do not have. This is also basically you seeing a provider with them virtually, telling them, you know, what the process is, what it is you're looking for, and then they approve you to get one of the drugs. They range anywhere from $2.99 for all strengths all the way up to $5.45. Actually, I see one that's $5.99 a month. That is providing you with a full month's worth of compounded medication. All of them do require you to have a new medical consult for the prescriber that will be working with you to give you the prescription for that compound. Some of them have monthly fees that I put on there. Some of them are also offering to send a prescription to a pharmacy for Zepbound or Ozempic or Wegovy, whatever it is that you would like. But a lot of them are only worried about compounding, sending straight to your door. I did look at each one of these to see if they were using an FDA accredited compounding pharmacy. Some of them are using what is called a 503A pharmacy, which means that they are not held to GMP standards, which is good manufacturing practices by the FDA. However, they do have some type of certification as a compounding pharmacy from the FDA. Basically meaning the FDA is looking at their pharmacy to make sure that they're following basic quality standards. However, they are not testing or looking at any of their formulations that are leaving their facility. A lot of these are also putting additional things in their compounds of their Tirzepatide or their semaglutide, whichever one you're looking for. You know, they're putting in B6, they're putting in B12. I personally am allergic to B vitamins, so that's definitely not something that I'm looking to include in with my Tirzepatide, because I would break out in hives all over my entire body with a B12 anything. Some of them also have a minimum of 3 months that you have to pay their set monthly fees or clinical fees or access fees. So a lot of them will also offer savings once you pay for 3 or more months, just to try to kind of keep you on the hook there. And then the last column that I put is, are they offering the compound only, or do they offer a script to be sent in somewhere as well? I personally find it a little expensive on some of these to be paying that kind of money a month just for them to send a prescription in for you somewhere. I personally, even with Weight Watchers Clinic, feel that what I'm paying them on a monthly basis is a little high. However, I'm also getting fitness, nutrition, an app to be able to scan things if I need to log my food. I mean, I believe the MyFitnessPal is $79. I will have to look that up and then put it up over here. However, I know that a lot of trackers, if you want the ability to be able to scan things or their database to be able to log things quickly and not have to enter it in yourself or try to guess at what you think it would be, they are all a paid service anyway. I like that Weight Watchers has a huge library that I can log everything into. So, there's a lot going on with compounds right now. I know that a lot of people are kind of shifting over, saying like, hey, I don't want to be off this drug. I'm afraid to be off this drug. And so they're going and they're looking for these compounds. I personally don't recommend that. My doctors, both at Sequence, Weight Watchers Clinic, and my local endocrinologist also do not recommend that. So that is why I went back down and I did the 2.5 injections today. I picked this up today. It took me 2 weeks to find just someone somewhere who had it in. I had to go to a local hospital and go to their pharmacy on their first floor just to get this guy. And I don't know how much they have either. I know that my local endocrinologist gave me more. like refills, but I don't know that I'm actually going to be able to get them refilled. So I'm really hoping that by taking the 2.5 for a month, and then the Weight Watchers Clinic sent over the 5 milligram for me to Lilly Direct, I'm crossing my fingers that in the next month I get on that Lilly Direct and I don't have another problem with this. However, that is all TBD, right? So I will share that with you as we kind of go along. The other thing that I want to go through with everybody is basically the process of Lilly Direct. I am torn on how I feel about it. So if you guys have not watched the congressional hearings where they called in the CEOs of Johnson & Johnson, Merck, and Bristol Myers Squibb to question them about the pricing of drugs in the United States compared to other countries all around the world. I am linking that down below. It is a 3-hour long hearing, just so that you guys know. I'm going to give you kind of the top level things that stuck out to me the most. First of all, none of these CEOs wanted to come and appear in front of Congress. The Merck CEO, his team went so far as to tell Bernie Sanders' team, questioning why he was not coming, they went so far to tell Congress that he did not know anything about pricing as the CEO at Merck, nor would he be able to answer any questions because he is a tax attorney. Okay. I mean, some of the reasonings they were giving this team as to why they were not appearing were just quite silly. Also, I think that made Bernie Sanders' team dig into them even further. Right before they were going to be subpoenaed to appear in front of Congress, they all voluntarily decided to go and appear. One example as to what they were talking about is that Merck makes a cancer drug called Keytruda. They are charging $191,000 for Keytruda in the United States, whereas in France they charge $91,000. So it is $100,000 more in the United States than it is in France. They did this with each one of the pharmaceutical companies, comparing some of their kind of blockbuster drugs pricing in the United States versus other countries. What I found to be the most interesting about this is that they make more money in the United States than they do on all other countries in the world combined, which is outrageous. I did see from another Mayo Clinic doctor in a PBS special that I will also link below that people can go over into Canada and get drugs for like a tenth of what they pay for it here in the United States. So Bernie Sanders did ask the CEO of Merck, was he aware of how many people had a GoFundMe page just to be able to try and acquire and take their cancer drug? He responded he did not. Bernie Sanders' team had found that there were over 500 patients with GoFundMe pages trying to obtain funds to be able to take that cancer treatment, of which some of them have already passed away, and they were never able to afford the treatment. Another thing that his research team found was that all 3 of those major pharmaceutical companies were spending more money on their C-suite, which is the CEO, CFO, COO, their C-suite employees' salaries, as well as all of their buybacks and dividends and passing out of stock to all of their stakeholders than they were spending on research and development for new drugs. That is also a problem. I will say, I know about how much a lot of the C-suite and even the VPs and even senior directors make at pharmaceutical companies. I used to work at one, and I will also tell you that a lot of our upper tier, we call them the Titans, up there in the Clash of the Titans, up at the top tier level, they don't really understand a lot of the day-to-day. They don't really understand a lot of the pricing. A lot of them are in their position because they know someone, not because they know what they're doing. And I used to have to do a lot of presentations for my senior director, and I had to sit with him and fully explain to him what all of it meant, what kind of questions he might be receiving, how to answer those questions. They don't know a whole lot. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. I had a head of quality where I worked at pharmacy that decided that he'd never wanted to know anything going on, because if he didn't know about it, he couldn't be held responsible for it. He brought his wife in, who was a school teacher, to work in the department that I was in. And then they would just go for a walk after they took an hour-and-a-half lunch every day. And then when they were done for their walk, they would leave for the day. He was fired, he was let go, and corporate came down and apologized to the site for us not having efficient and effective quality leadership at that facility. So I do believe that a lot of those CEOs really truly don't understand the process. They don't know what's going on, but I also believe that they don't want to know what is going on. And therein lies the major problem, right? Another thing that I am going to bring up to you all is something that they kept bringing up during this congressional hearing as well. They were bringing up what is called the prescriber benefit manager, or managers or management system. And so I'm going to put up an explanation flow chart here for everybody. I'm going to look at it on my phone so that I can kind of walk everybody through this. Yeah, this is a lot going on. I understand it's super confusing, and this is why so many consumers don't fully understand what's happening behind the scenes. And so I'm going to start over on the far left, where we're just going to use Eli Lilly as our manufacturer, because that is who manufactures Tirzepatide. You're going to see that I have a giant $sign both by the manufacturer as well as your insurance pharmacy benefit managers, or your PBMs. Those two entities are the ones who are profiting the most from drugs going out to patients. Now, when you look at the yellow dot at the top, it says 3PL. This is a third-party logistics, or your warehousing. These are the people who are warehousing all of the drugs. They are sending it out. They're doing all of kind of like the grunt work to get it where it needs to go after it has been at the manufacturer. One thing that I do have in question that I've been trying to find and I've been unable to find is Amazon is not a GMP certified warehouse. So I'm going to assume, and I do not know, I'm going to assume that with their contract with Eli Lilly that they are either building a GMP certified warehouse to store their drugs, or they have already somehow adopted some type of GMP warehouse with their own pharmacy that they are shipping Eli Lilly drugs to do Lilly Direct. Because Lilly Direct is going to be, I believe it's by PillPack and Amazon Logistics, which I think the goal is to ultimately just make it Amazon Logistics. So that's kind of like your workhorse. They're doing stuff, you know, they're basically just getting it, figuring out where it needs to go and shipping it back out, the logistics of it. From the manufacturer, you can often have market orders. So I used to be in planning. We based our inventory and our manufacturing runs off of what type of market orders we had globally, who we were having in volume, who we were filling for, what size is it that they ordered. You know, you basically have orders that you're running to. It is a pull system instead of a push system. However, when you have a shortage like this, a lot of times, whoever's at Eli Lilly, obviously, I'm looking at this either one of two ways, and I'll go over that in just a minute. So down on the bottom, I was going over the market orders. That can be your hospitals, it can be clinics, it can be pharmacies, it can be prescribers, you know, whoever is placing large volume orders. So you might have, for instance, a hospital management company who places in bulk orders across all of their hospitals, that they might be sending that order directly to Lilly Manufacturing to fill for them at a discounted cost. Now, you'll see money going towards the insurance pharmacy benefit managers, and then you're also going to see money from Lilly that's going from the Lilly manufacturer to the PBM, and then you're also seeing money going to them from these clinics, hospitals, pharmacies, and prescribers. The benefit managers are basically now a part of insurance companies. They are the people that Eli Lilly's saying, hey, we'll give you these rebates or these coupons, aka money, for you to put us on the preferred list of medications for your prescribers at your insurance company over Novo Nordisk, which is one of their competitors, right? There's a lot of money that goes back and forth between this, both back and forth between the pharmacy benefit managers and the insurance company, as well as the manufacturer and the PBMs. Because the PBMs are basically trying to get the most that they can so that they can skim some off the top and keep it for themselves. That's why a lot of your insurance companies are developing their own, you're going to see way out to the right, specialty pharmacies. That's your CVS Caremark, your Express Scripts are probably the two largest that make up over half of what we have in the United States. That way, they're not having to give any kind of money out to mom and pop pharmacies or a pharmacy that they don't get any kind of benefit for using or they have to pay more for. They can control everything within their own insurance pharmacy so that they can take even more money off the top or get better savings. However, those better savings are not actually ever delivered down to the patient, which is down in purple, who is either getting their prescription from this insurance specialty pharmacy, or they're having to go to hospitals, clinics, other pharmacies to get these things, which a lot of times if it's not within your network, which these people pay money to be in your network to these insurances and pharmacy benefit managers, it's probably going to cost you, the patient, more because the PBM and your insurance is still trying to make sure that they're getting their money out of it. And so therein lies a lot of the problem with our drug pricing. Manufacturers are saying that they are having to provide too much of a rebate, too much money off to these PBMs via the insurances, or over to the insurance specialty pharmacy to deliver it, whereas then the total profit would then be going back to the PBM insurance or specialty pharmacy instead. So, as you can see, it's a big hot mess. You've got I know last time or time before last, we talked about kickbacks with physicians. There's been many physicians who have lost their medical license because they are in turn also taking kickbacks from these manufacturers, from these PBMs to start prescribing this other medication instead of what they have been prescribing. This entire system of the manufacturer, the PBM, your insurance, and these specialty pharmacies kind of controlling everything around the patient. I mean, realistically, why is your insurance or a PBM deciding what type of medicine you should be having from which manufacturer instead of your medical professional deciding that for you on an individual basis? Right. There's a lot of questions around this. So the next slide I'm going to show you all is basically what I think Eli Lilly is trying to do. They're basically turning Amazon Pharmacy into instead of just their 3PL, they're turning them into their own PBM and their own specialty pharmacy straight from the manufacturer. So they're cutting out the middleman completely. Now, that also does not mean that Amazon is just going to take anybody and everybody's insurance regardless, and the manufacturer's not having to pay anything to those insurance companies, because they still definitely are. You know, Cigna, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of your kind of top insurance tier companies, they're not going to just put your medication on their list of prescriptions allowed for the patient or covered for the patient for nothing. This is a giant kickback system that basically needs to just get kicked to the damn curb. The United States is the only country in the entire world that this insurance system is in utter and complete control of what the end user or the patient is allowed to get or can have, or what they pay. So I'm kind of torn on this, because in one way I feel like Eli Lilly is trying to say, okay, we're going to get rid of the middleman. We're gonna ship it straight to you from who we pay as a 3PL. And don't get me wrong, a 3PL contract with a manufacturing company is a lot of money, like a lot of money. We had a 3PL where I worked. We used Cardinal Health for that. Cardinal Health is a very large 3PL that works with lots and lots of different pharmaceutical companies, and then they're the ones who ship out to the hospitals, the clinics, the pharmacies, you know, wherever it might be needing to go. They also are responsible for the storage, for the upkeep, for the FDA, you know, coming in and checking that it's all, you know, still stable and good to go and has been kept in order. So there was a lot of money behind that. So I feel like basically Lilly is saving money by not having to do the giant rebates with Amazon. Amazon is also going to be making more money because everyone's going to be jumping ship from wherever they currently receive Zepbound or Mounjaro from to try and get in this Lilly Direct line to get it straight to their door. Personally, I'm not going to see a whole lot of savings in this. I'm hoping that I'm still paying the same price through Lilly Direct and it's not going to cost me more. I know that Eli Lilly also offers the savings cards. I use the savings cards so that my injections only cost $25. I will tell you all that when I picked this up today, my bill said it was over $1,000. I'll show you guys right over here. It said that it was over $1,000 for 4 of these, and then it showed what my insurance was going to cover. Then they were charging me, I believe it was either $40 or $60. I think it was $40 at the hospital, and CVS is normally $60. And then I give them my Eli's savings card, which cuts it down to $25. I will also say that I do know that Eli Lilly's CEO was the first of all the pharmaceutical companies to address the raise in the insulin cost and to lower it with a max cap of a $35 payment for insulin. And they have also promised to not raise that again from Eli Lilly. So in one way, I feel like, okay, you guys at Lilly have found a way to keep people coming to you, deliver it straight to their house, cut out this middleman. You and Amazon are getting richer, like you need it. But at the same time, I can also see that they really are trying to cut costs. Whether or not they're doing that or not is still kind of, for me personally, going to be yet to be seen. I also will say that whoever is over planning at Eli Lilly, there's two scenarios that I see going on here. On the first hand, I see that planning and the business ops side, especially your financial team, has said, hey, if we stop sending Zepbound out to all these other pharmacies and there's a shortage, then we're going to force all those people to come get in our line of Lilly Direct. And we just signed, and the ink's still a little fresh on our Amazon contract. We need more people signing up for this, and we need it fast. So this shortage is either not really a shortage, and that's what they're trying to do to get everybody in this Lilly Direct line and force them to come over, or it really is a shortage and they have a piss poor planning team. Because with the planning team, so your planning team is typically part of supply chain. They're the ones who are looking at what is called an MSS, which is your marketing, sales, and solutions, basically what's coming in. These are your orders. Some people call it an MSO, marketing sales orders. They also manage your MRP, which is your material replenishment program. So I've seen some people saying like, hey, they don't have the vials to make it, that's why there's a shortage. I have no idea what the shortage is, but I do know that the planning team is, number one, supposed to overproduce based on your projected global, usually given page that says, hey, here's what we're projecting our sales and marketing orders to look like, especially if you know that it's going to be in high demand based off of what happened with Novo Nordisk. You're going to plan to overproduce that because you can always get your sales and marketing team to sell whatever you overproduce. But it should have also been telling them how much of each level they were realistically going to need to be doing. I did see that they have cut down on the lower levels, but they are keeping the higher levels in production because it's going to be harder for someone at a higher level of this to completely start all over again, as it would be for someone who's still on 2.5 or 5 just to go back to a 2.5. That part does make sense. However, they were not overproducing. I don't know if it is a manufacturing constraint. I don't know if it is an MRP issue, where whoever does their material replenishment program as far as their buyer and their planner scheduler that would be looking at that, they could have not realized. There could have been like a warehouse management system error or an inventory in the system error telling them that they had more of these pens than what they really did have. Or there could be an issue with the manufacturer of these pens getting it to them in a timely manner as well. However, you should have min-max levels in your inventory system to basically like automatically trigger buying a lot of things like this to be able to put down in manufacturing to make sure that you have it. I do know that from a pharmaceutical background, I also was over the master material list. There are some materials that make up the actual drug in these that can only be bought like 5 months out of the year. There's also things that might have storage requirement limits, expiration date limits, that if you bought too much and it sat too long, you still have to just get rid of it without being able to use it. Those are all like good manufacturing practices. But my point behind this is, whoever that planning team is, there was either a supply chain issue with where they're getting their materials. There was just complete overlook and oversight of how much inventory for materials they actually had to be able to create these batches, or they did not adequately plan for what their market orders and their market share was really going to be. Those are my two thought processes on this. Either you're pretending there's a shortage to try to get everybody over to Lilly Direct, or you just need to basically fire your entire planning team. So Eli Lilly, which one is it? There's just a lot around all of this. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. This whole last week, in deep diving into this, deep diving into trying to find this, that kind of angered me of why are we in a shortage? Like who was not doing their job? Trying to dig around and figure out what's really going on, looking more into the process for which the patient is provided these drugs and the cost of these drugs. I mean, there's a lot of insurance plans that I've heard from people that do not cover weight loss medication. And then that's why they're having to pay the out-of-pocket, that $1,000 cost or more, or they're moving over into the compounds. One thing I will say about the compounds, I read through some of the legal cases with Eli Lilly, specifically with a compounding pharmacy in the state of Florida. Now they did lose. Eli Lilly did lose that case simply because they're trying to enforce or get the courts to enforce the FDCA, which typically is only enforceable by the FDA, not the court system. And then I feel like it also said something about how they were trying to enforce state laws on something that is actually a federal regulation. So that's kind of where these judges are saying, hey, I'm not touching this. I did also read that during shortages, whether this is the real shortage or a planned shortage to get people to do what they're wanting them to do, which is jump over in their direct line, if you have let the FDA know that you are in shortage, then compounding of the drugs is in fact allowed. So if they want all the compounders to stop, which there's a lot of them, like just in Facebook and Instagram ads, they're just everywhere. They have to get out of shortage. You've either got to get your materials in, increase your production. You might have to look for a contract manufacturer. Charles River in Memphis, for instance, is a contract manufacturer that my husband almost went to work for. You're gonna have to find some type of contract manufacturer to help you get your production up to get out of shortage. So those are a couple of different scenarios. Now, all of that takes time. There's a lot of things within pharmaceutical for the CGMP or good manufacturing practices that you have to pass to the FDA to be able to kind of up and get somebody running. There's a lot of change controls that have to happen. There's a lot of strict things around bringing even new materials in sight. You know, we had category managers that if this was a pen that I used when I was in pharmaceuticals, I had 3 different backup manufacturers and suppliers for everything that I was using on my master list, so that if this came in and I don't know, there was dirt or there was bugs or we had some kind of issue with it or it broke every time, I had other manufacturers that could make the exact same thing for me, and all of them were qualified with a material qualification packet, supplier quality, chain of custody, so that I was ready to go. It was in the system to order if I needed it. A lot of times pharmaceutical companies don't do that, and then all of a sudden they might run out of a filter or they run out of, I don't know, one of their chemicals, and then they're bum rushing everybody trying to figure out where they're going to get it from. Because a lot of these materials used in pharmaceuticals are basically from the exact same companies, exact same manufacturers, just different suppliers. And a lot of times you have to qualify multiple suppliers for the same manufactured product. And sometimes you can't find another manufacturer of that product. And so then you might even have to contract someone to basically build it for you if there's not like a patent requirement around them not being able to. So I found out a lot this week and that's why I wanted to kind of deep dive into everything with you guys instead of going over like the skincare that I'm using, which I will do with you guys next week. I'm giving it one more week. I'm using both things on my face where I'm getting kind of like saggy skin here and here where my wonderful double chin is going down a little bit. I'm using things on my arms, I'm using things on my stomach, I'm using things on my legs, and it's not just actual like creams or serums or oils. I'm also using different devices. So I want to go over all of those that I'm using with you all, give you guys kind of what my rating of each one of them is. Some of them I may not have, you know, like an exact link for you, you know, where I like get credit or anything like that for it, but that does not matter to me. I'm still going to share everything with you all that I am using and that I am liking. So that will be my week 10. I am going to go over my week 8 updates. So now that I've kind of gone through everything and covered everything that was angering me this week, I will also tell you all that I have never been on a medication before that I was worried, was I going to be able to get it again? So for the past 2 weeks, I've been having like dreams about not obtaining this. I've been having anxiety about not obtaining this. I've kind of been like wigging out a little bit because I know that a lot of times people will say, once you come off this medicine, you start gaining the weight back. And I don't really want to like lickety split gain the weight back like this. I also know that I've told you guys that on this Tirzepatide, my joints are not pounding, my hip has not been locking in place, I've not been having inflammation in my lower back. And so I don't really know if Tirzepatide is the true, you know, like, hey, it's lowering your inflammation or not. But I did not want to go back into feeling those things or having pounding joints of any kind by testing out the theory of not having it. So at least I do have the 2.5 for the next this injection plus 3 more that I have on hand, and then we'll just see where this journey takes us, right guys? Okay, so for week 8, I lost 2.6 pounds. I was on the 5 milligram. That was my last 5 milligram that I took. I did not have any type of nausea or vomiting my last 2 weeks of the 5 milligrams, so I was tolerating it really well. I did tell my Weight Watchers Clinic doctor that I wanted to remain on the 5 milligram. However, we just could not find it. My water is up. My subcutaneous fat is down. My muscle is up again. My BMI is down, and my protein is up. So I have really been watching what I've been eating. My husband and I also went to the Masters this past week. I think we walked over 14,000 miles, not miles, 14,000 steps, there we go, while we were at the Masters, just for the short time that we were there. We also really did watch what we were eating the whole weekend as well. And so one thing that I did note though is that my weight now, after 1 additional week on the 5 milligrams, is what it was before I took my last Cosentyx injection. So what I gained during the week of my Cosentyx injection, it took me an additional week just to get that back off. And so I feel like each month that I am still taking a Cosentyx injection is just going to be this kind of back and forth. I'm going to fully expect to gain weight during the week of my Cosentyx injection, regardless of what level I am on with the Tirzepatide. For me, I'm not trying to race and run and lose as much weight as possible as fast as possible, because what I'm going to cover with you all next week in week 10 is trying to make sure that I'm utilizing different skincares, different oils, different devices that's going to help the elasticity of my skin not to just become kind of saggy and crepey throughout this process. And if you lose weight too quickly, it doesn't really matter what you do with that. It's just going to be what it is. And so I am perfectly fine with where I currently am in my weight loss journey after my first 8 weeks. This is my week 9 injection, and I will show you guys where I put this in earlier this morning as soon as I got it.
As always, I like to use a cool pack where I'm going to be injecting this. I did put this in my right thigh today. Again, I am going back down to the 2.5 milligram from the 5 milligram because this was the only box that I have been able to locate, which is a little interesting to me because I feel like people who were on 2.5 really aren't going to miss it as much as people who were on higher doses. I really feel like the focus should be on people with higher doses. I always go through with a small alcohol wipe after the area starts feeling cold, and then I make sure that it's very clean. You do, as always, want to make sure that that dries in full as well. Always, always, always make sure that it is in unlocked mode before you even take the end off or hit the button on the other end that is purple. If you press the purple button or try to press the purple button before you unlock it, you could potentially lose the liquid inside. Always inspect on the inside to make sure that you do not see any type of impurities or any type of contamination. Then you're simply going to push this straight down on the area that you've cleaned, that the alcohol has dried in full. Hit the top button, you will hear 2 clicks, and then you are completely done.
The last thing that I want to leave everybody with today is an additional thing that I discovered in some of the incidents that are happening with people that are currently on this drug. If you are scheduled to be under any kind of general anesthesia, any type of procedure, even an endoscopy, colonoscopy, anything like that, you are going to want to come off of these drugs for quite a while before you have that said procedure. There are currently reports of patients who are aspirating during that process, which makes sense because you do have a slowed down digestive system. Things are sitting in your stomach much longer. And so even though patients are not eating for the 12 to maybe even 48 hours before any of these procedures, there is still food in their stomach that is coming up and then causing this aspiration, and in some cases that are being reported, death. So I want to go ahead and put that out. I'm going to put some of the links that have been reported down below so that you can review that for yourself as well. And just make sure that you are working with your healthcare providers that you are having any type of these procedures with far in advance. I would recommend probably even like a couple of weeks coming off of the medicine beforehand. I did want to go ahead and put that out this week as well, just because that was something I myself was not even thinking about. And I know that my GI doctor is talking to me about a possible additional endoscopy or colonoscopy. So just keep that in mind with any new procedures that you might have coming up. As a reminder, I did put the full list of the compound companies down below if you would like to view that. It is just a Google document. Just a reminder, I myself am not taking compound drugs whatsoever, just because I have worked in pharmaceuticals. I don't know what's in them. I don't know where their ingredients come from. And I also, in a lot of the cases with these companies, don't know what kind of pharmacy it's coming from either, and when their last accreditation or inspection was. So for this type of drug and what it is affecting, basically like your hormones and your GLP-1, your GIP, it's working on not only your internal organs, but it's also working on things with your brain. I did see in the legal case in Florida with Eli Lilly against the company that is compounding in Florida, that they found impurities in a lot of the things that they were testing. Some of the compounding companies that they did pull from and test was just sugar water. So if you're willing to take that risk with some of these compounding companies, what I would say to you is, regardless of who you're utilizing, make sure that you look at what pharmacies they're using, what kind of accreditation they have, what kind of inspections they have, if at all possible. I will say that throughout the last week, one thing that I think that is desperately needed in the United States, besides cut drug costs for people, is that there needs to be a singular system for searching inventory of drugs. Even when I was calling CVS, Costco, Sam's, they could only tell me what they personally had on hand. They could not tell me what any of their other facilities had on hand, nor could any pharmacy tell me if someone else had it on hand. There needs to be one single federal government entity where every pharmacy inputs their inventory so that the end users can look to see where their drug is in shortages. So that's something that I would love to see in the future. However, I know that it's probably something that I will never see in my lifetime. So I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I'm Jen at KetosisMom. You can find me obviously here on YouTube, so make sure you hit subscribe and that bell button to know when I've posted new videos. I'm going to be doing updates every single week throughout this whole process. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, I will be able to let you guys know how long it took me in the Eli Lilly Direct waitlist line. We're just going to keep our fingers crossed on that one. Also, find me on Instagram and Like to Know It at Living Large and Lilly as well, and on Instagram at KetosisMom also. I will see you guys next week for my week 10. Bye, everybody.
Subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching our channel.